Donkey Jaw Projects!
What is up, everybody? This is Marshall Lee of DonkeyJawProjects.com. That is the website that you can go to and check stuff out on. And there's our comics available there for purchase if you like. Mini comics. I say that because I was talking to Gaz today on the Hangouts, and he asked me where I could get my stuff, so I'm realizing that maybe I don't make that clear on my videos. So, anyways, today is day 32 of 100 Days of Making Comics. 100 Days of Comics, Making Comics, is a challenge started by Mr. Kevin Cross, where you work on your personal comic project for at least 30 minutes a day for 100 consecutive days in a row, and you update online for accountability via videos or blogs or wherever. However, I like the videos. That's the ones I'm able to keep up with more than anything. Speaking about videos, Mr. Kevin Cross himself is doing the 100 Days of Making Comics challenge as well. It is his 5th round, I think, and he's doing it over on Patreon for only $1 a month. You can see all of his updates, which are awesome and super inspiring, and you gotta check them out. I'm actually in the middle of watching one now. Had to pause it to make this video, and then I'll get back to it soon. So yeah, check his stuff out. Kevin Cross on Patreon. Go search that junk. So yeah. So today I did about 45 minutes. I was hanging out in the Hangouts with some peeps and having fun chatting, and during that time I did my 45 minutes of lettering. I did a lot of other stuff today too, but that was the comic making, the official comic making, and did alright. I'll show you a picture right here. And yeah, I called it quits after that. I might get a little more. It seems like every night I've been getting a little bit more each night than, you know, I meant to. So sometimes I get like an hour and a half or something instead of 30 minutes. Pretty cool. Maybe it'll happen again tonight. We'll see. But I was working on some other stuff too. But today I wanted to talk about long and short form comics stories. And I bring this up because it came up a bunch today. And one thing I think is interesting is that you can tell a full comic story in pretty short amount of pages. You know, it's only going to be so deep or dense with, you know, character development and arcs and things like that. But you can. It's been done, and, you know, typically for, you know, at least most of my growing up, it's been, you know, you get these floppies every month, and they're about 22 to 24 pages, somewhere around there. And you get a snippet of a larger story. But years ago, you know, that's how it's been, you know, for, I don't know, for the most part since the 80s, maybe 70s. But kind of before that, it seemed like some of these stories were ongoing and kind of one and done stories as well. Sometimes a lot more self-contained. And so there's that. And it's interesting to me, though, when I was reading comics, you know, growing up, reading what was coming out at the time, I always felt like I was like, I'm getting like part of an episode of a TV show every month. Like, it just seemed like such a long wait for very little, you know, story. And I liked the art, so I kind of still bought them more because of the art. You know, the story really wasn't doing it for me a lot of times. So, you know, that was kind of frustrating. And I noticed that too, like when somebody is making like a graphic novel, you know, sometimes it's hard to read the first issue and be like, okay, this is exciting and I get where it's going, you know. It's because there's just too small of a sampling of the full story. I actually read Gaz's The Horror A4 issue 2 today. And then, because it had been so long since I read the first issue, about a year or so, however long it's been, and I remember that I read it twice. And So I went back and reread the first issue again, and then I went over the second issue once again. I didn't read it fully, but I kind of did this slow skim thing so I could get the full story, and it was really fun. It was really nice to just sit there and read comics for, you know, an hour more or less. So it was like a break, and just enjoying the getting into Gaz's world of the story he's writing and stuff, and really cool. The comic is amazing. It's super impressive, and it took me a little while to kind of figure out, okay, this is where the story is going, because there's a few different things interweaving each other. You know, it's not just like the story I'm writing right now, or creating right now, finishing, I should say, Attack of the Lizard Brain. I mean, it follows one character. There's different, I guess there's different character arcs, but they're super simple. You know, they're not as developed as something like what Gaz is doing right now. And, you know, it's interesting, because I feel like when I first read the first issue of Gaz's book, I didn't, I got where it was going to a certain extent, but I was not 100% sure. And now with the second issue, it definitely reveals a lot more to where it's going, but it's like you can tell it's moving towards something, but you don't know for sure exactly what. I mean, there's meant to be a lot left for you to kind of figure out so far, because it's obviously leading to something, you know. It's not going to reveal the big thing in the first two issues. That would be a weird story. So it's interesting, and I dig where it's going. I dig the commentary on things that are going on now. I'm not going to spoil any of it, but, you know, just in very general sense. Hey, look at that bird. You know, I really dig the direction it's taking, and I love the artwork. Beautiful artwork done, and I got a chance to appreciate the first issue once again as well, and the artwork in that is amazing too. And you can see some interesting style, very subtle but different style differences in it, and, you know, growth, and kind of, I think it's more growth in approach, not growth in, like, you know, he drew bad in the first issue and he's drawing better in the second. It's not anything like that. It was more like that. I think the skill level is very similar. You know, I'm sure there's growth and skill, but I feel like it's more the approach that's a little bit different, especially from the first few pages of the first issue. Anyways, I'm not here to, like, critique his work or anything. I'm just thinking about, you know, how comics have that, you know, and how much time it takes to make these things. And so, you know, there's bound to be some things, you know, but I mean, it as a cohesive, like, story, it is that it's cohesive. You know, it looks like the same story throughout. It doesn't look like, you know, this page was done by this artist and that page was done by another artist or anything weird like that. So it's good stuff. I wanted to talk though about, so that's like this is like a long form story, relatively long form. So you're getting like a snippet, but just a 22 page or however long the comic is, even that is a really short snippet. So it's interesting how people break it up, and where cliffhangers, or where people leave off and start back up. Other people, I was talking to Mike as well about, you know, writing shorter stories with a shorter page count, like 8 pages or 6 pages or 7 pages or whatever, which is what I'm doing a lot of, and with 12 stories. And that's an interesting thing too. And you know, there's, in the past with comics history, there's been a lot of books where it's like broken up like that, where there's like 3 stories per issue. And I don't know what the page count on those were. They seem like they could have been more than 24 pages. They might have been more like 30 something. But still, you're talking about, you know, maybe 10 pages a story, you know, at the most, for like 3 stories or whatever. You know, that's how like old EC comics were, like just a lot of the old books. Even some of Jack Kirby's stuff, like he would break the same story up in 3 parts. It'd be like Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, but they almost seem like self-contained things. It's very interesting how things were broken up. So like, but it seems like, you know, we're so used to this like long form storytelling where it's just this ongoing story that kind of, you sort of get payoffs, but then more questions are brought up. Then, you know, kind of like long TV series and stuff. We're so used to that, but comics can be very powerful and very interesting. You know, stories can be told in short page counts as well. And you know, you see more stuff like that with like you know, heavy metal and stuff, and different anthologies. There's a book from Image that Brandon Graham puts out called The Island, and that's an anthology of like indie creators. That's really cool. There's just different people doing different things kind of in that short story realm that I think is interesting, and that tends to be where I'm focused right now. I'm not focused on a big graphic novel. I'm just doing a lot of short stories. I would love to be part of different anthologies and things like that actually come out, like the 100 Days of Making Comics Life in Space anthology. You know, and I don't know, there's a lot of things I'd really, you know, there's a lot of me, like, I'm really interested in this whole like short story thing right now. And I feel like I've been, you know, I started off with like some mini comics and kind of got that under my belt. Now I'm working towards short stories, and I'm learning something new with every story. You know, I'm learning a few new things with every story and taking one bite at a time, and I really enjoy this approach. Like, I feel like I'm really growing in so many ways, and it's exciting. And I'm learning how stories work, which is the biggest thing, you know, and I don't know. So I don't know, I'm just really excited about that. And I would just, I noticed that a lot of people who do the 100 Days of Making Comics challenge, and this isn't a critique, this is just an observation. A lot of people, they either have like this ongoing story they want to work on, or like a webcomic that's ongoing, or like a long form graphic novel that'll come out in issues. And for a lot of us, it's like our first comic too, or one of our first comics. And I really would encourage you, you know, make some mini comics, you know, make some shorter stories. If you're working on like a web comic or something that's ongoing, make it have like a season, you know, so this season's going to be 25 strips or something, and then the next season's going to be whatever, you know, especially when you're learning, you don't want to, I mean, it's debatable, like, if you really need to, like, do this big long form story, go ahead and do it, work hard at it, make it happen. But if not, like, if you don't need to do it, like, you don't have, like, it's not, just try some sort of stories, seriously. And I think you can build something with that, you know, skill-wise and career-wise. That's my plan. Anyways, I was just thinking about that, the difference between long and short stories and things like that. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for taking the time out. Sorry yesterday's video was kind of like not much to watch, but luckily I kept it super short. Luckily, hopefully it didn't waste too much time if you did watch it. Had to put the update out there. Today I wanted to make sure I gave you a little something to chew on and think about. Hopefully you dug it. I'll be back tomorrow for day 33, but for now, day 32 signing out. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, all that fun stuff. I'll talk to you later. Peace out.